Who wants some free land? Who doesn't, right? Most countries throughout their history have offered free land. In most cases, it was land that was sparsely populated, and countries figured if the citizens owned the land, they would pay taxes on that land and maintain that land so the government didn't have to. The United States has had a few different programs throughout its history. Back in the late 1800s, they had land rushes. You could sign up for a program, pay a registration fee, and get a flag. You would meet someplace like west of Oklahoma City with your flag. Everyone would line up on a predetermined date at a predetermined time and wait for them to fire a cannon. Once the cannon was fired, you could haul ass across the open plains and find a flag that was already in place, stick your flag there, and claim that land. Before we get rolling, I'm only giving you information. I will include the links to the websites for these programs. There was some confusion the last time I did this video about 3 or 4 years ago. So to be clear, here are some things I will do. I will give you the information. I will give you the links to the programs. I will encourage you to do this. And if any more pop up, I'll probably do another video or at least a short. Things I won't do, but I was asked to do last time. I will not help you fill out the form. I will not loan you the registration fee. I will not get on a call with you. I will not send pictures of my feet. I will not help you find these properties on realtorcom, and I will not marry a relative of yours so they could move to the US. I am just the messenger. I almost said massager there. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, Kansas. Kansas, like many of the states on this list, is sparsely populated, so they've got a lot of land to give, and they've got a lot of dying towns. These are normally small farming towns that were somewhat bustling back in the day, but as fewer and fewer people are needed on farms, and 1,000,001 other scenarios, people aren't living in these towns like they used to. So the towns are offering free land. Right now there's 3 small towns that I know of that are giving away free land. The first one is Plainville, Kansas. This town has been losing population since the 1960 census. Yeah, that was the last time they gained population. They maxed out at 3,100 residents in 1960. Right now, they're sitting on 1,746. So yeah, they've got a lot of land and not a lot of people. This place is in the middle of nowhere. It is in the middle of the prairie, in the middle of the farmland in Kansas. The nearest decent-sized city is Topeka, and that's a little over 3 hours away. You also got Lincoln, Kansas, which is about an hour east of Plainville, and their statistics are about the same as far as population goes. Right now, they're sitting on about 1,100 residents. That's 2020 numbers. The last time they had significant gain in population was 1960 with 5%. Then they started losing again, but in 1980, for some reason, they gained 1% and then went back to their losing ways. And then you have Osborne, Kansas, which is about the same numbers. Right now, Osborne is sitting somewhere around 1,300 residents. I have links for all 3 of those cities in the description box below. Number 9, Nebraska. Nebraska is just like Kansas. It's just further north. Now, I'm sure if you're from Kansas or Nebraska, you know there's big differences between the two, and you could probably name them all. Yeah, nah, most people can't. It's like I grew up in Redondo Beach. Hermosa Beach is the city right next to us. They have beaches too. I know exactly where the line is. I know the difference. If you went there, you wouldn't know when one city turns into the other. Kansas, Nebraska, and Iowa are just like each other, in my opinion. There's a few different packages for relocation and getting tax breaks, things like that, to move to Nebraska. 3 cities in particular are Curtis, Beatrice, and Elwood. Now, in the past, they had about 6. Nebraska was one of the biggest, 6 or 7 in past videos, but some of those programs have been put on hold or canceled completely. Beatrice is a kind of a larger town. It's got 12,000 people in it, and it is south of Lincoln, Nebraska. Elwood, on the other hand, is not a big town. They've only got 658 residents, and they seem to lose a couple every single week. I think one of the biggest problems with this town is about 30% of the population is over the age of 65. Curtis is a few hours west of Lincoln, and they've only got about 800 residents, and they're losing all the time. Actually, look at that. 2010, they gained almost 13%. I didn't realize that. But apparently by 2020, they all left because they dropped 14.2% by then. Looks like they left and took a few people with them. Links for those towns are in the description box below. Number 8, Colorado. Now, this is one we've talked about before. It's in Flagler, Colorado, which is east of Denver, and it's almost in Kansas. Flagler's one of those places you could film a movie about the Great Depression and really not have to do much. as far as fixing the setup. They've got a lot of old barns and a lot of old buildings. They have some new ones too, but they just have an overabundance of older ones. And a lot of open roads with fields on both sides and telephone poles going down the side of them. Now this one's a little bit different. They have a free land incentive. However, the program is only for businesses, not residential use. There's no plumbing, no electricity out to this land. If you get the land and you want to start your business there, you're going to have to pay the utility companies and probably electrician and a couple plumbers to do it. I've actually been to Flagler, Colorado. When I've got there like most people do, I had to pee and I pulled off the road. And that trip should be a lesson for all of you. When someone asks if you could drive them home, make sure you know where they live before you say yes. Now, it was an army situation, so I knew the guy didn't live, a couple miles away. I knew it'd be an all-day event. I didn't know it'd be a 2-day event. And to answer the question going on in your head right now, he's from Goodland, Kansas, about 3 hours from Colorado Springs. Ended up having dinner with them and spending the night, and being freaked out by his aunt that had a severe lazy eye. She'd be talking to me and she'd be looking someplace else. Number 7, Iowa. Yeah, imagine that. Iowa's just like Kansas and Nebraska. Of course, it's going to be giving away free land. I mean, why else would you move to Iowa unless you're a farmer, unless you're dodging subpoenas, or you really don't like your family and you like to move someplace where they won't visit? Iowa, about 3 or 4 years ago when we did this, they had like 8 of these programs going on in different towns all around the state. That's no more. A lot of them have shut down. As of 2023, only 3 towns still have it going. You got Oceola, Manilla, and Marne. Marne only has like 120 residents right now. Osceola has about 5,000, and Manilla has about 1,300. Marne and Manilla are on the west side of the state, not too far from Omaha, Nebraska. Osceola is in the center south part of the state, just south of Des Moines. Now, I make fun of Iowa a lot because it's a boring state. That's just the facts. But the thing is, a lot of people want that type of lifestyle. They don't need excitement. They don't want a bunch of things. They just want to live their life in peace and quiet. Iowa is perfect for that. The people are extremely nice. They're very helpful, especially when you get into the rural areas. Fall down on a sidewalk in like Red Oak, Iowa. I promise you, 5 people within seconds of you hitting the ground will come out to help you get up. That's the type of people they are. Side note, Red Oak isn't on this list, but it has the cutest downtown area. It's got a little park in the middle. It's like a little town square with businesses all around it. Beautiful. But Manilla, Marne, and Osceola are really nice small towns. They are offering free land, or at least somewhat free. You just got to fill out some paperwork and you got to promise to stay there a couple of years. That's usually the gist. But for more information, there's a link in the description area. Number 6, Minnesota. Minnesota's been on this list before. I don't know about all these towns though. I know Richland and Claremont were, but I don't know about the other ones. But Minnesota is one of the better states for free land. It's not as, flat and treeless as a lot of, areas of Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska. You get some trees and there are a lot of ponds, creeks, rivers, and lakes around Minnesota. I mean, that's kind of their thing, land of 10,000 lakes. But like I said, several towns offer free land programs, and they'll give you other incentives like free electrical hookups, building permits, things of that nature, just to get you rolling. As of 2023, you got Claremont, like I said before, Halstad, which wasn't on my list before, Argyle, Middle River, and Richland. All of their links are down below. And that's a good way to keep up with if they shut it down. Always come back. If you want to look at these, look at them later on, and you're watching this video maybe 2 years from now, click on the link. The website's the best place to be updated on where the program stands. Number 5, Buffalo, New York. Now, this is the first one. I would probably suggest you look other places. Buffalo's got a lot of crime problems right now. It has for the last handful of years. I mean, it always has. It's just getting worse. On top of that, Buffalo is one of the snowiest cities in the United States. So if you don't want to shovel snow, don't move to Buffalo. If you're a diehard Buffalo Bills fan, maybe it's an option. But trust me, you got to be a serious fan to want to move to this city to watch the Buffalo Bills. Now here's the thing, this program in Buffalo's been going on a few decades. Their program says you got to fix any code violations. And a lot of the situations with this one, there's a house there. It's run down, but you got to fix all the problems there. And it's got to be done within 18 months for you to take over the land. And you have to live there for at least 3 years. At that time, they will give you the deed to the property. So you got to put a little elbow grease, a little skin in the game, but you're getting a free house and free property. Is it worth it? I don't think so. I like living in Portland because when we get snow, we don't get it that often. It's kind of a treat. When you're when you're living in one of these places where you just know there's going to be snow for like 4 months minimum, it's not a treat anymore. Every once in a while, it's okay, even if you get hit a little hard, but you get really annoyed when it keeps going and going, sort of like a spanking. If you want to get that spanking in Buffalo, there's a link in the description area below. Number 4, Allegheny, Pennsylvania. Allegheny County Vacant Property Recovery Program is offering land to organizations, nonprofits, things like that, if you can demonstrate the capacity to implement a plan and get the property up and going the way it should be. I'm not sure of all the ins and outs on this one, and I kind of read one thing. It says depending on what you bring to the table or to the community, the price of the land or what you got to go through to get the land is determined on a case-by-case basis. So this is one, if you're some kind of nonprofit or something like that and you want to get the land, you really want to talk to them first before you make any solid plans or really start thinking about it. But there is a link for that in the description area below. Number 3, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Milwaukee is a lot like Buffalo. They got some crime, it gets a little too cold, and the suburbs of Milwaukee are great. I've been to quite a few of them. This one in Milwaukee is a little unique. It's the Milwaukee Vacant Side Lot Program. Under the program, residents can buy city-owned lots adjacent to their property for $1. So I think this one's interesting. I mean, who wouldn't want to expand their property for $1? So that one's a little unique. It kind of puts a weird twist on it. You got to be a property owner before you can get the free land or land for $1. Now, this one has a lot of yards, apparently, a lot of lots. So some of them are on different programs where you could buy the lot for somewhere like $100 to $500. That is still next to nothing for a piece of property. There is a link down below. Number 2, Chicago, Illinois. This is one of the ones where I'd advise not to do this. I love Chicago. Chicago is not as bad as they make it sound. They have a lot of crime, but that crime is on the south side of the city and a couple of places on the east side of the city. It's not widespread. Most of Chicago is a wonderful place to be. It's a really nice place. Sadly, where they're offering most of this free land is in those neighborhoods you don't want to be in, the ones that give Chicago the bad reputation. The Chicago one has a couple different programs. There's city lots for working families, where developers can buy city-owned lots for $1 as long as they make affordable single-family homes. Adjacent neighborhood land acquisition program, or ANLAP, did something very similar to what Milwaukee had going on. There, for $1, you could get a city-owned lot as long as it's next to your residence. It's my understanding from what I read. In some areas now, they've kind of changed it where it's 10% the market value of whatever that property is. Sure, it's not free, but I went on and I looked to see what some of the lots in these neighborhoods are going for, and some of them are as low as $15,000, $11,000. They've got other ones that are $30,000 and $20,000, but even if you bought one for $20,000, your 10%, what is that, $2,000? So it's not free. I mean, nothing is free, but they call it a free land program. All right, before we get to number 1, here are the places that have canceled or discontinued their program that were on our previous list. Grafton, Illinois, they had a nice little program going on for quite a few years. They canceled that 2 years ago. Alaska, they canceled theirs. Maine had one, and that's the one where I had like a city planner or something call me or email me, said that I was giving them a lot of things. I gave out wrong information. They're not giving any free land, And that's the guy I actually gave him a link to his own website that showed they were. He was at least decent about it. He's all, you know what? I'm new here and I didn't even know about that. Now that I think about it, I may be the one that ruined that program. It sucked anyway. If I remember correctly, it was like only for businesses, and I forget, like it had to be a factory of some sort that employed a certain amount of people. So it was a lot of hoops to jump through. And North Dakota had a plan for a while in a couple areas. They've canceled theirs. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, Erie County, Pennsylvania. In case it isn't clear, there's no really ranking these ones. They're just in no particular order. Probably should have said that at the beginning of the video, but here we are. Erie County is up there on Lake Erie. It's got the town of Erie, Penn inside it, but they have a program going on up there. And just to give you an idea, they don't have as much crime as Buffalo, but they do get almost as much snow. They're just down the shoreline from Buffalo. on Lake Erie. I went to basic training with a guy named Bretter from Erie, Penn. You say it weird, Erie, Penn. I don't know whatever happened to that dude. I don't think he made it out of basic training. I could be wrong, it's a lot of years. This is another program that is like Milwaukee's, where residents can purchase vacant lots for heavily discounted prices. I saw one thing that said some go for about $100 and some start at $500. So, I mean, I think it changes every now and then. If you want to live in a decent place, Erie, Penn is not that bad. Their cost of living's really low. Their housing's really low. Their crime, not horrible, but it's not the best. They got jobs. Their schools get decent rankings. Their hospitals get decent rankings. Their overall crime rate is 2% above the national average. Yeah, it sucks it's above the national average, but if you follow this channel long enough, you know there's cities in this country that have violent crime rates and total crime rates that are 400% above the national average. So 2% is nothing. As always, there's a link for that program in the description area below. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a great day, be nice to each other.